PSA for those who just want to empower women. That is not good enough to get you booked on a global top 5% podcast. Here is why, and here is what to do instead on this episode of Communication Queen. Before we dive in, let me tell you about the book that started a podcasting revolution, Make Every Podcast Want You. It is not just a bestseller, it is a 2-time gold medalist, baby. This book is your ultimate guide to landing dream podcast interviews, building authority authentically, and making your voice the one they remember. If you've got a message and a mission, this is your mic drop moment. Grab your copy today in the link below and step into the spotlight that you were born for. Welcome to the Communication Queens podcast for the visionary leaders, speakers, service providers, and podcasters who are looking to stand out sharing their story. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, former screenwriter turned master communications coach. On this podcast, I'll be coaching you on how to share your own transformation story so that you increase your visibility, influence, and income on podcast interviews. Let's get your voice heard. Hey there, it's Kimberly Spencer, CEO of the Communication Queens agency, where we are revolutionizing guest podcasting, getting our clients booked on the right podcasts that build your brand awareness and your bottom line. And I posted this rather spicy post on Instagram, LinkedIn, I think all the places that posts can be seen. And it was that Crown Yourself, our sister podcast, which is associated with my coaching company, Crown Yourself Coaching, that I've had for 9 years now. Holy moly, going on a decade. That podcast it's a global top 2% podcast, Communication Queens. It was recently ranked in the top 200 marketing podcasts in the US. We are no longer accepting guests who just want to, quote, just empower women. Nor are we accepting guests who, quote, just think that they would be a great guest on a podcast. Now, if you're like, wait, what? But don't you believe in empowering women? And I do think I'd be a great guest on a podcast. Yes, you probably would be an amazing guest on a podcast, but are you the right guest for me? And that is what every podcast host is thinking when they get pitches. Let me give you an example with Crown Yourself, right? So Crown Yourself podcast caters to education, personal development, spiritual development, and coinciding with your business development. So we bring everything into this beautiful, holistic picture of purpose and fulfillment, supporting our clients get amazing results. And a lot of our podcast has a lot of female guests on it, and they do empower women. Like most of them, I would say, and I'm very much for empowering women. And how are you actually activating that? Is it just by what you're saying, or is it by what you're doing? So I give the example of one of our guests that we had on the Crown Yourself podcast, Ashley Connell. She's the CEO of the Prowess Project here in Austin. The Prowess Project specializes in equipping caregivers with the skill set of being your OBM, your online business manager, and then they pair, similar to Communication Queens, they do strategic matchmaking. So we at Communication Queens do strategic matchmaking between our clients, the entrepreneurs, CEOs, visionaries, and leaders, with the podcasts that are the best fit for their brand, building their brand awareness and bottom line. My friend Ashley, she pairs the OBMs, the former or current caregivers, with their ideal visionary CEO. So basically, if you're a visionary CEO and you have struggled with organization and documentation and building up processes and building all your funnels and all that, that's what an OBM is for. And so she's empowering women, but actually empowering women by equipping them with a skill set. If you just want to talk and give some motivational speeches, those are for YouTube. Like there's about 42 million hits on that on YouTube. So when you're thinking of a podcast, you have to know the audience, period, of podcast listeners. And if you're pitching just to empower women, do you check out like the top podcasts like Rogan, Ferris, Impact Theory, Women of Impact, like even Women of Impact, which is geared toward empowering women, has women who are experts and men who are experts, who are in a space of mastery in their craft. Like they are doctors and psychologists, really, that talk about shaping and reshaping your mindset. If you've ever listened to Tim Ferriss or Huberman Labs or even Rogan. Like, these have in-depth interviews where people are masters of their craft. I mean, so are you really a master of empowering women? Like, do you have hundreds of thousands of followers waiting with bated breath for your inspirational posts? Because if not, go with a different pitch. Just want to empower women is no longer enough. If you're a life coach or a health coach or a mentor, you need to have results to back it up. So when I go on podcasts to speak about high performance mindset, I can say the high performance business principles that I teach inside of my Crown Yourself coaching programs to help my clients build their empire has resulted in my clients becoming the number one in their industry in the world, achieving their 1 year goals of $4 million in bids in 3 months, of doubling 6-figure revenue in a month. There are results to back up what I teach. And yes, a lot of those clients have been women. Just helping people feel more confident and happy, it ain't cutting it. What cuts it is that they are so happy that they discover the love of their life and they move to Bali and they pursue their career in basket weaving, and that the thing that they've dreamt of since they were 5, that is something that a transformational top podcast is looking for. It is looking for a quality story. You have to show results on the physical plane, the physical transformation, losing weight, making more money, living happier. What does that even look like? Living healthier, having more loving relationships. And your bio and your pitch better demonstrate that, or else top podcasts are not going to want some generic life coach from some podcasting agencies. In fact, many other agencies like mine are no longer accepting life coaches. And that's not to say that if you're a life coach, like, to not be that, but it's saying that you better have results that back it up. Helping people feel more confident is great, but what does that actually look like? How does that translate into their daily life? The second thing that people are looking for on top podcasts is authenticity. So showing up vulnerably, authentically, giving real examples. I was listening to Dean Graziosi on Ed Milet's podcast, and Dean shared a transparent story on the podcast about his divorce and the vulnerability that he demonstrated through that. And he shared it for the first time. And I think that that's a gift, that if you can give that to a podcaster, of certain stories being like the first time that you've ever shared something that was challenging or a struggle or a hardship or a divorce or a bankruptcy or some form of abuse that you've healed. Remember, podcasts are not for unhealed trauma. Those stories are what will get you on bigger podcasts. They don't just show that you empower people. They show that you are actually living an empowered life. And the last thing that we would want to look for is number 3, which is embodied knowledge. Embodied knowledge is like mastery, but it's demonstrating results. It's how you're embodying the principles that you say and the strategies and tips and tricks that you share. It shows that you are actually living and practicing what you preach. For example, one of our clients, Ashley Chamberlain, she did this brilliantly. And she came on our Crown Yourself podcast and shared about her money habits personally as a bookkeeper. So she is practicing what she's preaching. She's sharing about these personal money habits. So she demonstrates that she knows what she's doing with money, which is great because she's a phenomenal bookkeeper and fractional CFO. So if you're handling people's money and you're making jokes about being broke or how poor you are or how you can't afford things, and you're in the financial industry, people are not going to trust you with their dollar and they're not going to convert from your podcast interviews because you don't trust yourself, because you aren't implementing the knowledge of what you say that you are, of the industry that you're in. For example, if I wasn't guesting on podcasts regularly, that would not be me demonstrating and not only guesting, but then converting from those episodes. Then I wouldn't be practicing what I'm preaching. This is same with the personal trainer who is overweight. Now, I'm not saying there can't be underlying health conditions like pregnancy or things like that, but overall, if there is that scenario, you have to call the elephant in the room out and bring that problem forward facing to the public so that people trust you in your expertise. So there you have it. If this episode has set you absolutely on fire and you're like, you know what, I need more clarity on how to position myself so I'm not just preaching female empowerment, which is amazing. I'm so excited for you, but I need to position myself better so that I can demonstrate that what I do is actually changing lives and the results, the outcomes that I'm providing for clients, customers, and myself as an embodiment. Then book a visibility consult with me down below. I have a few spots left for this month. I would love to open them up to you. Get your booty in, get registered. I book up fast, and I would love to support you through this so that we use the right language to get you on the right podcast that you can leverage for lead generation. I will see you there. Remember, your story has the power to save at least one life. Go out there and let your voice be heard. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. For more tips on guest podcasting, storytelling, and communication strategies, follow us on social media at Communication Queens Agency and visit us at communicationqueens.com. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. And in the meantime, remember, your story has the power to save one life. Let your story and your voice be heard.